Thank you. I will have a written speech. I see some of the speakers behind me who are much more eloquent than I ever will be, so please excuse this part. This is not my session. Oh, this is my session? Yes, okay. So, good morning everyone. Thank you for inviting me to speak on this topic. I speak on behalf of Next Education India. We currently partner with around 5,000 schools and 5 million students, and our portfolio of products includes TeachNext, which is our school solution, LearnNext, our self-learning solution, Next ERP. We have English Lab, Maths Lab, Science Labs. We have some stealth products also coming, which I'm not allowed to reveal right now. We are looking at the topic of capacity building of teachers and the need for teachers' adaptation with digital learning solutions. Let me start with some statistics. If you look at it, the number of children enrolled in schools, and this is 2009 data, so this is a bit dated, is around 227 million, right? And this is only the number enrolled. Now, if you look at the pupil to teacher ratio, as of today, it's around 32:1. The RTE recommends an ideal ratio of 30:1. And if you just do the math, as of 2009, with the number of enrolled students, we are still short by around 500,000 teachers. So clearly there is a problem, right? I'm not going to go into deep into why is this a problem. All of you are aware this is a problem, right? What's the simplest solution? Increase the supply of qualified teachers. As a lot of speakers have said, it's not the easiest job and it takes a long time. It's probably a policy decision as well. I think the solutions that exist today are the teaching methodology, tools and techniques, and digital learning is one really important step in that aspect. Now, there are different ways, and I would say that digital learning has to blend with the conventional way of learning. It's not a substitute. We look at the teachers as catalysts and we don't seek to replace the teacher when we look at designing any of our tools. One specific aspect which I want to go a little deep into is educational data mining. So educational data mining takes into account all the interactions that happen on a school at a very micro level. So for example, if there is a quiz that a student is taking, then take that quiz inputs into a system. If the teacher is recommending a particular activity, then take that activity. What are the decisions that the school is taking? Combine a lot of these really small data points and come up with an algorithm which gives you a lot of big decisions as well as small decisions. So big decisions could be like in terms of what particular activity to invest in a particular school. Like, should the school invest in a lab? Should the school go in for a remedial class? Should the school invest in a hobby club? A lot of those decisions should be based on data, as well as a lot of small decisions. So it's not just big data giving big decisions, but big data giving small decisions. And I'll go deep into some of these aspects a little later. So what do these activities actually end up doing, right? What does digital learning really impact things? So I classified it into three different stakeholders. So first is teachers, like what does it really help? So data mining actually helps you make those big decisions. Like the simplest example is, like, do you wait till you have the summative assessment at the end of the quarter, or you have enough data points through the quarter, as well as you have a profile of other students who have been through similar paths to recommend what can you do to impact a particular student. One example that we usually give is that if a child is struggling in, let's say, in the first test in 8th standard, if you go back to the marks for the 7th standard, you will figure out that if the child was a little bit, if the child was struggling then it's probably better to go back to 7th standard and make them revise those concepts rather than worry about what they were doing in 8th. Because it's possible that their fundamentals are not strong enough at that point. Data mining also allows you to do cohort analysis, which allows you to bunch together groups of students. So you don't have to take individual decisions per individual student. You can actually club together a lot of decisions at that point. And digital learning, actually, one more thing which we've actually seen a lot in our range of schools. A lot of times administrators actually have to work with different teachers. There might be a lot of qualified teachers, but there might be replacement teachers because the teacher is not well on a particular day or is on leave. And digital learning actually allows teachers who are not very conversant with the subject to actually be quite conversant with it for a few classes. They are not a replacement for a particular subject teacher, but if you don't have any option, it is better to have something than to let the class not happen at all. How does it impact students? See, one of the things that we've concentrated very strongly on is that we believe that different students have different learning styles. So the old chalk and talk method is one definite approach, but it works for the entire class. But if you look at audiovisual, if you look at hands-on, if you look at kinesthetic, different students have different learning things. There are a lot of new labs products on the market, and by labs I just don't mean the old school laboratory with a beaker and a pipette and different instruments. But it's a combination of digital and manipulative, so it allows you to do an experiment, it allows you to touch a physical model which shows you, okay, how does the lung work, how does the diaphragm work, and then it allows you to do a lot of simulation. So what happens if you increase the pressure here? What happens if you add a different chemical here? A lot of those questions, rather than forcing a child to go through a standard A, B, C, D, E path, it allows you to actually say, okay, what if I don't do this? What if I do something else? It is like in a class of around 40 students, if the only option is for the teacher to answer that question, very soon the student will not be able to ask those questions. A lot of students have different styles. Labs allow you for each student to actually work on their own and ask those questions. So I think one more thing that again which is really important to understand is it is important to figure out how does the teacher view the technology, right? It cannot be that you build technology which actually forces the teacher to through a very steep learning curve, as well as makes them uncomfortable in front of the class. So one of the things that we invested in, for example, is for our digital learning solution is a remote, right? The remote means that the teacher does not have to stay next to the blackboard or the whiteboard, the digital whiteboard, while the class is in action. So the teacher can actually move around the entire class and control the whiteboard. It's just like a TV remote, right? The TV remote looks very complex, but once you've just become used to it, it's just like a TV remote. It has a few buttons, right? And what that allows is that the teacher can actually move around the entire class without really getting stuck to the whiteboard. So if the student has a particular option, you can actually navigate back to whatever you were learning earlier. Yeah, and content must be such that teachers actually add value rather than you getting to replace the teacher. Another example is in-class assessments. So for example, what happens is that the teachers actually administer a test. There is a digital instrument with 4 buttons where you can press A, B, C, D. And at a glance, what happens is that all the assessment questions are calculated. And the teacher understands, oh, there are 2 types of students. Half of them have actually got the answer right. The other half have got the answer wrong by exactly one particular aspect. That means that half of the students, sorry, my phone has told me it's 8 minutes. So what happens is that the teacher actually understands that, oh, roughly half the class has not got it and is getting confused at a particular moment. Now, rather than wait for those classes to get over and the assessments to get done, the teacher at that point in time can evaluate and say, oh, this is probably where some people are getting confused. Here's how we do it again. So that's it for me. Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity again.